Hi, today we'll be talking about articulation and how to use articulation specifically on a brass instrument. There are types of articulation for all instruments, and each instrument is complete or not completely different, but different. The technique to get an articulation on a piano compared to what we were using as a euphonium are completely different. But before we get into the articulation, we will be talking about how to get a sound on the instrument in the first place. First, you have to buzz your mouth to get a sound on a mouthpiece, and then the mouthpiece to get a sound on the instrument. So separately, it'll sound something like this. And now, also, before we talk about articulation, there's a thing called tonguing. And articulation is basically a style of tonguing. To get a sound on the instrument, you'll usually say T to get a sound. It'll create a point and it'll attack the top of your teeth to get a normal sound. So quarter notes, it'll sound like this. You can almost hear the T sound through the instrument. It resonates at the end. But now to move on to staccato, you'll use the vowels. You'll use the syllables T, to, or ta to get a staccato sound, and it'll sound something like this. Now, staccato is I don't want to say shortened, because a lot of people mistake this for a shortened note length, but when playing staccato, it is separated. We'll say that. It is, this note is here, and this note is here, and the gap in between is the space that you want silent. So you have T, T, and there's that gap of silence in the middle. And staccato looks like this. It has a dot on the bottom of the note head or at the top of the note head. And like I said, it is pronounced T, to, or ta to create a kind of point at the top of your tongue, making a more aggressive, spiky sound whenever you tongue, compared to a normal T sound on a non-articulated note. And now moving on to legato, which is completely separate from staccato. Legato looks like this. It has a line underneath the note head or on top of the note head. And legato stands for smooth and connected, but do not mistake that for a fully connected note. The legato will have, it is still tongue, so you have the first note here and the second note here. So it'll be, you'll say D, do, or da, and it'll be D, D. So there's still a tongue. You have to tongue on both of those notes. It'll sound like this. It is almost connected, but not fully. You have to tongue. The next type of articulation we will talk about is marcato. Marcato is kind of hard to explain, so I'll give you a demonstration. I'll play 3 measures. The first note of each measure will be marcato, making it a more defined and bold sound, and the next 3 notes after that will be regular notes. So it'll sound like this. The first note of each of those measures is more defined than the next following 3 notes. And our last type of articulation we will talk about is slurs. Slurs are connected notes that you tongue the first note and the next notes after that follow just by moving your fingers. Slurs will look like this. They have a line over top or a curved arch over top of the notes. This can go onto multiple measures or it can just stay within 2 notes. It really has no bounds, but it'll sound like this. The first note is not accented, tongued, and then the next notes following it are just moved with your fingers. And that will conclude today's articulation lesson.